Sell your soul like you sell a piece of ass. Slave to dead white leaders on paper. Welfare cases, rapists and hoes, all reinforced by your TV show. Exotic and beautiful videos. Yeah, jail's a sanctuary for the walking dead. Fucks with your head when every black leader ends up dead. Somebody said our greatest destiny is to become white. But white is not pure and hate is not pride. Just cause civil rights is law doesn't mean that we all abide. So tell me, are you free? Campaign for every damn nigga boulevard. So y'all young motherfuckers can drive down in your fancy cars. Try to hold on to some Africa of the past. One must remember Southern Africans that help us save your ass. Everybody's just trying to make that dollar. Remember we just used to say, I am somebody. No longer do I blame others for the way that we be. Some niggas need to redefine what it means to be free. I can't even tell my brothers and sisters that they found this absence of beauty in their heart and mind. Stop breastfeeding your child. You put them on the cow, now you wonder why they act wild. See, brown folks are the keepers of the earth, unifiers of the soul and mind. Not these wannabe gaudy pimps and thugs wearing diamond watches from African slave minds. Perhaps to be free is to love all those who hate me and die beautiful death and make pretty brown babies. Are you campaign for every damn nigga boulevard? So y'all young motherfuckers can drive down in your fancy cars. Try to hold on to some.
Hey, welcome to the RobCast Podcast. I'm Dr. Robert Benson. This is where conversations are grounded in truth. Oh, by the way, happy Resurrection Day to everyone out there. If you subscribe to Christianity as I do, today's a great day. Well, today's show is very special. We're going to take a walk again on the Renaissance side. We're going to talk to someone who is great and is one of the pioneers and one of the most active people in the dance realm. Without any further ado, I'm going to say hello to Dr. Obediah Wright. Hello, Dr. Wright. How are you?
Hello, and peace and blessings. Happy Resurrection Day for those of you that follow that. And if you do not, happy day.
Amen to that. Hey, well, Obi, it's been a
Yeah.
while since you and I talked. What you been up to?
Gosh, I have been traveling, I've been teaching, I've been choreographing, I've been directing, producing, had a little family tragedy happen, but we have to move through all that. So
Amen.
I have just been working and moving forward.
Well, that's a good thing. Well, one thing I know is that you are now a doctor. It's actually in your name tag there. You care to share that with the folks?
Yes. I'm going to share a good amount of that. After maybe about 8 years, I had been in pursuit of an honorary doctorate, and I was nominated twice,
Mhm.
but I did not get it. But I kept every day saying the mantra, I am Dr. Obediah Wright. I am Dr. Obediah Wright. I said it every day. I said it every day. And 8 years later, after the person that nominated me retired, I didn't think it was going to happen, but I never stopped saying the mantra. And I was in Atlanta visiting family, and I went to visit a friend that I met just maybe like once or twice, an acquaintance. And I was telling her about it, and she made a phone call. And the next thing I knew, I got an acceptance letter from the Global International Alliance. And so that's how it happened. So it didn't happen the way I thought it was going to happen. Didn't happen through New York. It happened by way of a phone call in Atlanta. But the thing is that I never gave up. I kept saying it. I kept putting it in my subconscious. I kept willing it, and I kept pulling the concept of that closer to me, closer to me. And so here we are now.
You know, the thing about it, talk a little bit about the process. Is it kind of an acknowledgement of your life's work? Or I know it's not a political thing. You've actually and obviously had to do something to attain it. What about that?
I've done a heck of a lot to attain it. First of all, the doctorate is in humanitarianism. So that means more or less about how you serve the community, how you're being of service to other people. So aside from being a teacher, choreographer, a director, and a mentor, there are things that I do out of the scope of work that help to support the community and that help support elders in the community, that help to support children and help to support my peers, my colleagues as well. So it's just about showing up and people being in recognition of the amount of service that you've done outside of the quote unquote genre of work that you do. But for me, it's all interrelated because it's all created. It's all spiritually connected for me.
Yeah, well, we're at the present. Let's take a trip to the past. Let's talk about you and your development. Talk about that first thing or that first activity, or what was it that turned that light on for you to get you into dance? Talk to us.
Wow. That's a good question. Always a good thought-provoking question from you, brother. Um, I was maybe 7, 8. I'm the youngest in the family,
Mhm.
and so I would watch my older siblings doing whatever the dance was that was out. So, there was the record player, then there were no CDs. So they would put on something and they would just do it. And I kind of just followed along and I got really good at it. And I came from a musical family, so there was music in my house. There was always singing. And my mom took me to dance school one day, and that was it. And that's how it started.
Well, I know you've been all over the world, and we all find motivation through different things. Me, I know to become successful, I had to leave. Where did you go
Mhm.
and where did you get your motivation that really said, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm going to continue to do? Was that here or in the United States, in New York, or did you have to go somewhere and really get that stink on you, if
Mm.
you will?
Yeah, I like that word. I'm gonna say that the stank, as we call it, STANK with an H on the end of it, the stank was there, but you got to put the funk on it.
Oh yeah.
But I got an opportunity. I was speaking with a good friend at the time, and I had never been out of the country. And I said, I want to travel. I want to do some other things. And he introduced me to some Japanese people that were here scouting, looking for teachers. And they watched me teach. And then they asked me, did I want to come to Japan? And that was a life changing, a life altering thing for me. So one visit turned into a 13-year connection
Wow.
over there. So it was, I still don't even have words for all of what I experienced over there. And then I was one of few Black people that was over there working and choreographing and teaching and stuff. So walking down the street, and I had dreads, but they were shorter then and they were blonde.
Okay.
But I had like a little mohawk. So imagine me walking down the street in the middle of Tokyo with a motorcycle jacket on and blonde locks. And in the early 90s, I mean, they weren't having blonde locks here, much less over there. So people would follow me down the street.
Mhm.
If I were in a restaurant, they'd want to take a picture of me and leave. And they would do all kinds of interesting things like that to me. But they really understood my work ethic. And I had a chance to just create. I didn't have to worry about anything else. There's a 6-day work week in Japan. So 6 days a week, all I did was teach and choreograph and have people that understood me and wanted to understand how I thought, what was my thought process, what was my creative process. And the more they wanted from me, the more I was able to give. Any artist, I think any human wants to be loved and revered and understood, especially an artist. When you feel like that what you do is special and what you do is different, if you're the only one that's thinking it and it's only in your head, there's a bit of insanity that uh, can get in there. So you do need some outside source to help you just kind of navigate yourself and navigate your creativity. And that's where that happened for me. It was in Japan.
The thing that's interesting about Japan is I was actually stationed over there before, and
Oh wow.
I found them to be the most receptive people there are. No racism.
Mm.
Uh, they really wanted you to share who you were with them, and they were like, flies on that tape. They loved the fact that you were different. They didn't hold anything against you. I'm sure
Hmm.
there were some elements that I'm not going to say practiced racism or anything like that, but they were very receptive. And my children were with me when I went over there, so they learned quite a bit. Well, let's talk a little bit about
Wow.
some of the people you've worked with over the years. I know that you have a long list of,
Ooh, yeah.
A-listers, if you will, that you spent time with
Yeah.
and
hmm
taught and worked with and improved their entertainment ability.
I improved their entertainment ability, and some, even if I wasn't choreographing or staging them, I still had the opportunity to dance beside them. So we can go all the way back. There's Stephanie Mills,
Wow.
there's the Pointer Sisters, Liza Minnelli, um, Aretha Franklin, Phyllis Hyman, Dionne Warwick, Ray Charles, Manhattan Transfer, Lilius White, Tony Award winner, Chef Carla Hall from the Chew. I know I'm missing some people. Forgive me. Angela Bassett,
Wow.
Forrest Whitaker, Jennifer Hudson. Yeah.
That's
Janet
amazing.
Jackson.
Uh,
I'm sorry, Janet Jackson, Michael Jackson, Diana Ross.
Wow.
I think that's it.
Well, well, you can think of some more, but that kind of leads me to the next question I have for you. And we'll take a break in about
Mhm.
5 minutes or so, and then we'll come back and really get
Okay.
between your ears, if you will. But
Oh gosh, all right.
yeah, scary, right? Now, when you work with those folks, you had a mandate, something you had to work with them for or to get them to do, made a music video or something
Mhm.
like that. Were
Yeah.
you able to be creative with them, and how are you able to differentiate creativity from a mandate or incorporate creativity within a mandate in the dance realm?
Well, first of all, when you're working with a major star, you don't really have a mandate. And if you go at it like that, you may or may not get what you need out of it. I always came in as a gentleman, and how can I help you be better at what it is you do? And as a director, as a choreographer, what you're doing, especially when you're working with someone of that caliber, anyone actually, you do whatever it is you need to do to get them to feel comfortable with you and to get them to trust you. Once they trust you, the world is your oyster. But until then, it's a little challenging. Sometimes they're a bit trepidatious. Sometimes they have not worked on choreography, or
Mhm.
they haven't worked with you as a choreographer. They haven't worked with you as a director. They're used to somebody else. So, and then their image is extremely important because it's their branding. So they don't want to have a step that's going to make them look not a certain way. They don't want to have a movement or something that is not going to be connected to who they already were. And so you have to do your research. You have to understand who they are. And
Mhm.
then you have to look at what the product is. What is the finish? What is the end goal here?
Mhm.
If it's a commercial, you're selling the product and the artist. If it's a music video, it's about how you line up shots. When I say shots, I mean how you set up the camera angles
Mhm.
and how you put movement around them. And sometimes they're not comfortable with dance. So you move the dancers around them. Sometimes the feet don't move, so then you make sure that it's shot basically from the rib cage up.
Mhm. Well,
Sometimes you do a wide shot, but you might not use it. So it depends. It varies. You really have to be a magician in order to work at that level, and you have to keep working on your own mojo to get those kind of jobs, to keep them and to have the talent satisfied
mhm.
um, as they're moving along and when you finish.
It's interesting you say that because I'll share something with you real quick. Is that for years I worked with social workers, and they were some of the most
Mhm.
receptive people I ever dealt with. And one thing that they always said was meeting someone where they are. And it's
Absolutely.
and it sounds to me like, and you can, if you don't mind elaborating on this, is that everyone is at a different stage, and it's incumbent upon you as that person who's getting that product to meet them where they are. How are you able to
Exactly.
assess where someone is and make those determinations?
Experience, time, uh, that's it. Experience and time. The more you do it, the better you get at it. It's like being a parent. We don't always know how to raise the kid. Each kid is different. Each
Yeah.
child is different. So sometimes the child is here to teach you the parent things. Sometimes the artist is here to give me things. So I never go in thinking I have everything.
Mhm.
I never go in saying I have all the alphabets memorized. I have the biggest vocabulary. I have the best of the best. I'm the best. I never go in like that because you don't know what you're going to go in and have to interface with. So the best way to do it is be a gentleman, as I said before,
Yeah.
be humble,
Yeah.
but be on task at the same time. Because you have deliverables. You're working on let's say a musical. It has to be finished by a certain time.
Yes.
In one case, I was hired as the choreographer for a project, and then the director got sick. So then they moved me into the director's position. So now that was even more pressure. And then I had a window of maybe 3.5 weeks to get the whole project done. So that's putting together, let's say, 26 production numbers in that short amount of time.
Mhm.
And you have to have it done because there's a rehearsal date, there's a end date, and there's previews, and then the show goes into a run forever how long that is. So you have to finish what it is you have to do. And during that time, it's can be exhausting because you are getting, let's say, a cast of 30 people and musicians to move like one unit, to
Yes.
move like one, like amoeba, so to speak. They come from different places. Sometimes they don't know each other, sometimes they do, but you have to really drive the bus. You have to steer it. You have to know
Mhm.
when to stop to get gas. You have to know when each kid needs water. You have to know how to do all those things and still get the project done within a specific amount of time. And even if I'm working with children, which I love, you still have deadlines with them. You still have an endpoint. There's no such thing as like an ongoing project.
Right.
It has to finish. Either it has to finish for them or it has to finish for me,
Yeah.
because I need to go on and move on to the next venture of my own life. So everything has a start point and an end point.
That's a great point, because that's what project management is about, is that everything has
Mhm.
a specific time that it's going to start and a specific time it's going to end. Where your genius comes
Absolutely.
in is navigating around that and,
Yes.
understanding that, you might not necessarily meet that deadline. But let's take a quick break, Obadiah, Dr. Wright. This is some
Okay.
great stuff. And when we come back, I want to get a little further between your ears and talk about the spirituality
Okay.
aspect of it and some of the physical
Okay, cool.
things that you are very, very adept at, as far as the body control, balancing, and all
Hmm.
those types of things. This is the RobCast
Yes. All
Podcast,
right.
and I'm Dr. Robert Benson. And we're going to continue talking with Dr. Obadiah Wright. We'll be right back.
At the Good Day Good Health Store, we believe wellness isn't one size fits all. It's about movement, nourishment, mindset, and showing up for your life. Shop with purpose. Invest in your health. Visit gooddayhealthstore.com and start your next good day today.
That was it right there.
We did. That wasn't shooting.
That was it.
Oh, you rolling?
That was it.
Go, Mike.
Did you get a hold of
I'm gonna do
He's
that.
gonna do it.
I had to see what the first one was. We're learning on the fly here.
So I'm gonna do that always on the lines.
Yes.
You can look a little higher.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like what? Right there?
Let's see. A little higher. Right there. Yeah. Yep.
All right, here we go.
So how long should I to do
Two
this?
counts of eight. 2 counts of 8.
Okay.
Yeah, we're about to play back.
I can try to in a little, just not for right now.
And I'm always at the camera.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing is, my minimum focus is like 1.5 feet. So if you go too close to me, you're out of focus. So I don't care too much about your hands, but definitely like your face. If you want to get close to me, just try to About like here.
Okay.
Don't come too close. Yeah, then I lose you.
And your arms are much longer, so you can literally stay where you. Right.
Yeah, that's
Right.
All right.
Right.
I'm set.
Hey, welcome back to the RobCast Podcast, where conversations are grounded in truth. I'm Dr. Robert Benson, and I'm talking to Dr. Obediah Wright, the great Obediah Wright, one of the top names in the dance industry, Ismas Rahi and some other heavy hitters. I'm sure that you can share information about them both, but let's dig back in. I want to ask you before we dig between your ears, who was your mentor, as it were? Someone you tried to emulate in the industry that you'd like to talk about briefly, if you would.
Definitely Debbie Allen. I got to work with her. And I'm an original Fame kid, actually. Definitely Debbie. I would say Vosa Rivers, who is a theatrical producer and independent film producer. And my teachers, I've had many, many wonderful and prolific teachers. One of them was Lee Cole Thompson, and became my mentor. Started as my teacher when I was maybe 12, 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And he was my mentor until he passed away, maybe about 6 years ago. So through ACO, I learned about all kinds of different spirituality. So he would be teaching us, and he would come in, and he had this necklace on. And on this necklace, there was this big triangle made of wood, and there was a rock in the middle of it. And he would take it off, and he would hang it on the mirror, and it would face us while he was teaching us. And so we never really asked what it was, any of that stuff. Years later, we found out, and let me tell you about the dance school I went to. I'm also an alum of the LaGuardia High School Performing Arts, which they made the Fame movie about, and the Juilliard School. But my training, which taught me how to put everything together that I learned technically, came at a place called Bernice Johnson Dance Studio in Jamaica, Queens.
Mm-hmm.
And out there, my first teacher was Michael Peters, who was the choreographer of Dreamgirls, and who choreographed Michael Jackson's Beat It video and the Thriller video. So that was my first teacher out there when I was a kid. We had Baba Chuck Davis, who was the founder and artistic director of Dance Africa. And then we had Bernice Johnson, who was one of the Cotton Club dancers when she was younger. She was brown skinned, so they called her Brown Sugar. She was the only one that was in the chorus line that was brown like that. So she made us work really hard. So we had to sell everything because she understood what it was like growing up in that time and being a dark-skinned woman, how much harder we had to work and how much better we had to be if we were Black. And then here came Lee Cole Thompson, who was this spiritual person that after class, and maybe we had about 12, 13 drummers playing for our class. So, I mean, we would be dancing so much like the mirrors would just be covered with steam because we were making so much. There was so much energy. There's so much sweat pouring off the bodies and stuff. And actually, the drums and the dancing would make the building just rattle. It wasn't a sturdy building, and it was in the back of a bus terminal. So we would look out the window and we would see people waiting on the bus, kind of moving to the beat because they could hear the drums. You could hear the drums when you got off the subway half a block away. You could hear the drums. And so when you think about spirituality and ancestral stuff and the drums, that was absolutely the divine place for me to go. And how I got there was my freshman year at LaGuardia High School Performing Arts. So it was an old, I don't even know. She was a white woman, but she was very, very old, but very, very sweet. And, when I first went there, I said, what can this old woman teach me? That old woman kicked my tail. She taught me so many things. And she taught me that to be a teacher, it's an ageless thing. As long as you can think, even if you can't see, you can you can imagine, and if people can follow what you're saying, they can learn from it. So she taught me that I didn't have to get up to teach. I didn't have to always be jumping up and down. And she taught me some great lessons. Her name was Gertrude Scher.
Wow.
And she sent me to Bernice Johnson because there were many, many students that were in LaGuardia High School performing arts that were always the best dancers. And I never knew where they studied outside of that. But when I got there that first Saturday, I saw them all. I
Mhm.
was like, oh, yeah, I'm in the right spot. And so that was it. And so some of those people that I met when I was 12, 13 years old are still my besties now,
Wow.
some 5 decades later. So that was a divine place for me to be. It was a divine place for me to train. And so our co used to talk to us about fasting and herbs and the pyramids.
Hmm.
And I didn't know at the time, but he was going back and forth to Egypt very, very often. But we were kids, so he didn't really talk about all of that. I didn't find out until after he passed away that he would go to Egypt. He went to Egypt every year consecutively for 37 years.
Hmm.
And I never went with him. My other best friends went with him, but by that time we were grown and I was in and out of Japan. I was working, so whenever they would go,
Yeah.
I never got to go with them. But I learned so much from this man about being just spiritually grounded. And then at Bernice Johnson, they would do cotillions. So, but they were black cotillions.
Yeah. I'm familiar with those.
So these Yeah, so we would bring these young ladies out, and it was to drums. So we had on dashikis and we had afro wigs and stuff. And so she was very um, forward moving because in the late 70s and stuff like that, it was really about Black Power, and I was
Yeah.
so glad to grow up in that era. Now we're into Afro futurism, which is great also, but just to be a child and see how that manifested, how it was created. And, we didn't have the African dance vocabulary that we have here now because there were not a lot of African dancers over here.
Hmm.
We had Dr. Pearl Primus, who went over to Africa and brought dances back, but that was it. So we did what was called interpretive dancing, so you would get on the kunga drums and we would just be kind of
Hmm.
just trying to be African because we wanted to be so a part of a cultural environment. And that's how I was raised.
Hmm.
Um, so I learned a great deal about African dance, African culture, Egyptian philosophy. I learned all that as a child, so it was inevitable that I would grow into that as I got older.
Hmm.
And lo and behold, I did. I
You
did.
mentioned something about drums and African drums.
Mhm.
Is there a correlation between drums in Africa and drums in Japan or some sort of music? Is there a fusion or does all dance
You know
have to
what?
be accompanied by music?
Brother, you ask the best questions. You ask the most like delicious questions, and I don't like people to interview me that don't ask good questions.
Thank you.
Yes. So first of all, the drum is the heartbeat.
Mhm.
Yeah, the drum is the heartbeat. So that is what pumps the blood. It's all those things. The drum is the through line of everything.
Mhm.
It's one of the oldest instruments there is, and definitely it's what keeps a pulse. So now we have African drumming. So now I'm listening to Indian drumming. When I was in Japan, I used to go see the taiko drummers all the time because the rhythms are different, but the heart and the spirit and the pulse of it and the drive and the intensity and the spirit of it when they're playing
Mhm.
is is ferocious, but they did it their way. Now let's talk about the migration of Africans moving through Asia and how that happened. We talk about Indian drumming. We talk about East Indian drumming. We talk about all these different things about the basis of polyrhythmic moving. And you can dance without music, but now to get a group of people to dance like that can be challenging, but it can be done. But I mean, there's rhythm. You have rhythms with your hand, rhythms with your feet. You make sounds with your mouth. There was a time when they were allowing the slaves to bring drums over with them, and then they had that big slave revolt in Stonewall, South Carolina, and then they took the drums away. Okay, so now imagine from one plantation to another, the slaves could interpret what was going on by way of the drums. So they took them away. But that didn't stop things. They started playing spoons. They started playing their bodies. And that's what they call ham bone rhythms. There was a song out years ago that they made, ham bone, have you
I
heard?
remember that
Tink,
song.
tink, tink, tink. Papa's gonna buy me a Mockingbird. Tink, tink, tink. But it was all rhythm. All rhythm. That's who we were. So how we learned tap dance was we watched the cloggers when they would take the slaves up and let them rest. We would watch the people do the Irish jig. And then the first tap shoes, they had bottle tops and things on old broken down shoes. And now look at where we are now. Look at Savion Glover. Look at what we have evolved with everything that we touch and are exposed to. And then look at what we came here with. See, we're not looking at those things. We came here with spirituality, even though they did everything they could to dissipate that power by separating families, by separating children, by separating royalty, by doing all these things to separate and dissipate all that. We still have managed to begin to coagulate ourselves again and again and again.
Great word. Great word.
Yeah, we're still managing to do that. It's Maya Angelou says, until I rise. So we the elders of the planet, you know what I mean? We're the
Yeah.
elders of the planet. So there's but so much that can be done or could be done to dissipate all that. But they recognize the power. They recognized our power. My thing of having to travel in other countries is that every other race of people that I've been around knows their power and knows their worth. Their religious or philosophical or spiritual stuff is intact. We're just now coming back to, and how funny we're talking about this on Easter Sunday, because now you have to talk about colonization.
Yes. Yes.
You got to talk about colonization and what that did to us and for us on the good side and on the not good side. You know, because there are people that are still not exposed to African traditions. They're afraid of them. But how old is the concept of that being beat into us from years and centuries ago? You know, so much of it was so systemically done, scientifically done, but systemic to keep us at a separate pace. I mean, if you look around my apartment, there's nothing but African artwork in here.
Yeah, you got some beautiful
Nothing
stuff in
but
the background I've seen there. Yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
yeah, but you can't see it all now. But
No, it's okay. It's okay. We're gonna
you
do
know,
this
but
again, but let me shift gears a little bit with you because you're very deep, Obadiah, and I definitely going to have you come back and talk to us again. But I want to talk a little bit
thank you.
about the spirituality part of it and melding spirituality with physicality. You talked about
Okay.
chakras and things of that sort. Explain to our audience
Yes.
how all of that melds or gels, as you said before about some other things. Talk about that total concept to where that balancing act, literally, physically, and actually, if you will, performance-wise, comes into play.
Okay. There are, people are just they're rediscovering chakras now. So now we're talking about there are 7 chakras, but there are many, many chakras. So there are actually 11 major chakras, and they're used to help heal and balance out the body. Maybe about 3 years ago, I took a course in what is called pranic healing, Pranic, and that deals with chakras and chakra energy, the energy centers in the body. And we can use these energy centers to help to balance out the organs in the body. So this is it's a non-touch healing system that I began to study under this wonderful man. I can't remember his name. Oh God, forgive me. It'll come. But I use that in my creativity, because any kind of healing science is about energy movement. So I can use that concept of moving energy in the thought process of giving information to dancers, giving information to musicians, how to make or how to find a certain kind of vibratory thing to just make it do exactly what it needs to do,
Hmm.
to hit that what we call sweet spot, or that nirvana place. um, so there's a vibration. Humming is a certain kind of vibration in the body. It stimulates the vagus nerve, which is the longest nerve in the body, that runs through and around the nervous system and some of the organs. So just humming, and singers do that all the time, but it opens up the head, it opens up the face, and it opens up the chakra points in the head. And singers have to keep that area of the body open. Dancers have to work more with the lower body chakras. So
Hmm.
being that you understand all that stuff, it's very interesting, and as to how I get dancers and singers and actors to begin to just open their bodies up like that. And then I'm working on my own healing system by way of movement. And I use that when I'm teaching. I do it every Saturday morning on Zoom. You
Hmm.
should take one, actually. It's a wonderful process. My oldest client is 84 years old, and she's been with me now about 3 years. I started the class
So you're implying that I'm
during
like 80
COVID
years
because
old? Is that what you're saying?
no, 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 no. I'm just saying that there are, because it's not a dance class.
Okay, I'm
It's
just
really
kidding.
more about, I know. It's really more about stretching and toning. And I work a lot with the fascia, the connective tissue of the body,
Hmm.
because as we get older, things begin to solidify, coagulate, and become more brittle. So certain types of movements, certain types of breathing exercises, even certain types of things you can do nutritionally to support them as we age, I incorporate all that in the class as well. So come on through.
Hey, I will. I've already talked to you about this before, but I love the way that we kind of circled back to dealing with different people. You've dealt with entertainers, you've with actors, you've dealt with singers, and you've discussed how there's not only a physical element of it, there's a spiritual one. But you
Yes.
also talked to me before about an astrological consciousness, if you will, about the way things
Yes.
are in the world today. Talk about
Hmm.
how you understand that and why or how we're in some sort of cycle right now and how that plays out in society.
Okay. Well, there are several, I call them modes of astrology. There's Mayan astrology and there's astrology system that we use here. Of course, I can't think of the name of it right now. But understanding natural cycles in the universe help you to fit in with what's going on in the world. For example, in certain parts of the world, there are only two seasons. There are rainy season and dry season. Here in America, we have four seasons. We have summer, winter, spring, fall. So like spring is a time for newness, a time for rejuvenation. So when you go back and look at the calendar about the new year being in January, in terms of spirituality, what is new in the middle of January? Animals are in hibernation.
Hmm.
There's no life happening. Um, the trees are dead. Everything is dead. And when spring comes, everybody does like this.
Hmm.
So then when you go back and you look at, there are certain religions that use a 13-month lunar calendar. Okay, so we went by a 13-month calendar. So, I mean, you look at the Chinese New Year is not the same as our New Year,
Right.
right? So there's some credence to knowing about how other philosophical, religious orders of people think about things and what is the validity in that. So I always encourage people not to just know one way, one thing. I
Right.
always want them to see what's out there in the world. And this astrological system, there are four elements. In the world, there's fire, earth, water, air. If you look at some people, well, I'm a Leo, I'm a Cancer, I'm a Pisces. And then I always encourage people, well, where's your rising sign? Where's your Jupiter? What is your ascendant? And I'm asking these questions, and I realize that people don't know. So I'm really not a person that you should talk to about your astrological sign if you don't know anything other than Astrology 101. So what you're going to read in the newspaper or something, today's my daily horoscope. So it's not necessarily going to apply to you as an individual. So I always encourage people to get to know a little bit more of their makeup, because what happens when you're born, it's almost like a picture is taken in the heavens, so that you know exactly what your makeup is based on that astrological system. Now we're also, when you get into numerology, even back to astrology and numerology, when you get into these things, there are foods that you should eat at certain times. You shouldn't eat foods out of season. Like it's the dead of winter here in New York. Now's really not the time to eat watermelon.
Okay.
You should have warmer kinds of fruits and vegetables for the body. So in the winter is the time for you to eat more of your root kind of foods because they're grounding for you. So just beginning to understand how those things work. In terms of numerology in this system, we're in a number 1 year. Number 1 is associated with man. Number 2 would be associated with women. Number 3 would be associated with a child. So in a male year, there's a lot of aggression because it's something that's forging ahead. Number 1 in astrology would be like Aries. Aries is the ram, so it's the forging ahead and pushing things. So it's also connected with the god of war. We're in the middle of wars now.
Yeah, we are.
Okay. So in a number 1 year, you kind of expect those things to happen. So when you know ahead of time what's going on, then you can kind of govern yourself accordingly. There's color therapy. There's all kinds of things that you do. I mean, when you go to Spain, you look at the bullfights, they always have red,
Yeah.
aggressive, fiery color. So,
That's
you
what
know, when
attracts
you
bulls too. I mean, yeah, I was actually stationed in Spain
it
as well. So in Madrid,
wow.
beautiful
Yeah, I
place.
didn't get to see, I was in Madrid for a little while. I didn't get to see much of it because most of the places I go, I'm working. So I don't get to see a lot of it. But red is an aggressive color. It's a fire color.
Right.
So again, there is validity to colors associated with fire. Color that would be associated with earth would be greens and browns. Connected with nature, colored blue would be associated with water. The moon actually moves and works with the waves, the sap in trees, and the woman's menstrual cycle.
Yeah.
And actually, it also, it also works with testosterone levels too, but not as extreme as it does in the woman's body. But it does move our fluids as well.
Obi, this is great, man, because it forces a person to understand that life is far beyond what they can see. It's also about what they can feel, because and all of that
Right.
is based on when you were brought here. A lot of it is predestined, but you are still in control of your own destiny on some levels. Is that not true?
You are in control of it. You are in control of it. But like in my case, in this incarnation, for lack of a better word, I knew I was destined to be an artist.
Yeah.
And so I'm walking that path. And many people don't have the opportunity to know, well, what is my divine purpose for being here. So sometimes we get a job, and because they said go to school and get a trade and make money, but there's something in the spirit about this person that is not happy. Because they never tapped into themselves spiritually or never had a connect with somebody that could help them to figure out what their divine purpose is in this lifetime. And when you get back to African spirituality, there are ways to discern that. There are ways to do all of those things. And those are the things that they took away from us.
I see. Hey, well, Obadiah, this is part 1 of a show we're going to do, because we're going to get you back here and talk some more about this particular thing. But so let's wind this up a little bit. Talk to our audience about motivation and how they can become what they want to become.
Motivation. Let's look at motivation and procrastination at the same time. because to me they're it's the extreme sides of the same spectrum. So it is challenging to stay motivated. Sometimes life gets in the way. The older we get, the more challenges we have, mentally, physically, spiritually. So how do we stay on the horse and keep galloping? I would say meditation, prayer, surrounding yourself with people that are supportive, or removing yourself from people that are not supportive.
Amen.
And how do we get to that? You get to that when you can still yourself. You get to that when you are in a meditative state, when you know how to quiet yourself and remove toxins from the body.
Okay.
Go through periods of purification. Each season change, I do a fasting period. As many people do. The Muslims call it Ramadan. I don't call it that, but there are times when we abstain from food, we abstain from alcohol, we abstain from sex. There's a period of abstinence that happens, because during that time of abstinence, that's when the body, the mind, and the spirit begin to link back up if they've been dissipated. That's when the chakras can begin to pull themselves back together, and that's when you can hear yourself better. You can hear your inner voice. So you can use your inner ear, you can use your inner eye. So all those things get tuned up. Because when we come here, everything is tuned up.
Yes, it is.
Everything is tuned up. So as we get older, we lose ourselves.
Okay.
But some of us are fortunate enough to find ourselves as well. And generally, people don't start finding themselves. And I'm going to say generally, 40s, 50s, and so now they got a new lease on life. The kids are grown, and so now we're finding ourselves. So now this is something I've always wanted to do, and now I'm going to do it. These are the things that potentially were the things that you were supposed to continue doing from childhood, that nobody knew who you were. Nobody had access to your soul. Nobody, parents, anybody didn't know how to look and to see who you were.
That's interesting, because I find myself doing the same thing. At some point, I had to actually figure out who I was. I've done a number of things. I've been that proverbial jack of all trades until I eventually figured out what I was here to do. Well, Obadiah, thank you for joining us today. Tell everybody where you are and how to get in touch with you.
If you want to get in touch with me, you can reach out to me at info@drobediahwright@gmail.com. Info@drobediahwright, and that's DR, not spelled out. Info@drobediahwright.com. Please come and take my Zoom class. It will help you out. If you want to book me for choreography, directorial things, any of that, I'm available. Reach out to me there. You all have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I hope that the information that I have given you, you will absorb, and you will investigate, and you will do your own research. I'm about growth and expansion. That's one of the things I was put here to do, is to help expand people and to continue expanding myself. So I wish you all blessings for the day, for the week, and for your life, and share this information with your families and with your children. God bless you. Thank you.
God bless you too. Thank you, my friend. We will talk real soon. Hey, that's been the Dr. Obediah Wright, one of the great Renaissance men in the country, teacher, spiritual advisor, a guy that just pretty much knows all that there is to know in those realms, and he's been all over the world. So how can you question that? But this has been the RobCast Podcast. I'm Dr. Robert Benson, and I'm going to leave you today with a little thought. When life hands you a whole bunch of things to do and some challenges, I hope you dance. And if you can't dance, Dr. Obadiah Wright will teach you how to. Thank you. We'll talk to you next time.
Well, ribbons in the sky.
Thank you for watching the RobCast Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, and comment. Don't forget to turn on notifications for all new weekly episodes.